There you go.
Okay, we are good to go. Welcome, everyone. We have a wonderful presentation ready for you. I know we're all excited about learning about self-publishing, a market that's changing very, very quickly. But first, I have a couple of quick announcements, and then we can jump into this. So I'd like to introduce Kate, our new lead for programming. We also have we have Lev Rosen, who's going to be our new mentor committee member. Ken Wishnia, I'm hoping he will take on the Burstein Award Committee. And then Carol Binkowski, who's here. Hi, Carol. And she is going to be our local groups committee lead. This is a brand new committee. We continue, have a few folks that are going to continue. There are, stalwarts. Sheila and Al keep us honest. They guide us in what we can and cannot do, in terms of national, in terms of bylaws, and keep us honest. Doug Harold's going to continue doing our newsletter. Mark McNeese is taking over the comms team. He does the social media, things like that. David Bushman will continue with our website, and Hal Glatzer is going to keep doing our Manhattan mystery readings at the New York Public Library. And Daniela Burnett continues as our library panel liaison. So the board is full. We are all ready to go. And this is the first event of the year. So thank you to Kate. I'm going to turn it over to her to introduce our speaker.
Okay, thanks, Nevin. Before we get started, I just wanted to congratulate you on your award, the Dinshaw from Rosie Joshi Award that you just recently won. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let me tell you a little bit about Sharon. Sharon Ward is the author of the Fleming Scuba Diving Mystery Series, which includes In Deep, Sunken Death, Dark Tide, Killer Storm, Hidden Depths, Sea Stars, Rip Current, and Sea Monsters. Ice Water, her ninth book, will be released in early 2025. Sharon was a marketing executive before becoming a novelist. She was a PADI certified dive master with hundreds of dives under her weight belt. She is a member of Sisters in Crime, MWA, International Thriller Writers, and several other writing organizations. She lives near Cape Cod with her husband, Jack, and their miniature long-haired dachshund, Molly, the actual head of the Ward household. We're so excited to have Sharon here today to walk us through her journey through self-publishing. And so without any further ado, Sharon, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for inviting me, Kate. I'm thrilled to be here. So the opening slide here is a scuba diver for two reasons. One, that's what all my books are based on, and two, it's an exploration. And what we're going to do in the presentation today is really explore how to get started with self-publishing, how to decide you want to go to self-publishing, how self-publishing has changed in the next few years, or in the last few years. So without further ado, we're going to, come on.
And Sharon, I just want to say that, after you give your presentation, you so graciously said that you would take some questions. So if you guys have questions about the presentation at the end of it, she will be happy to answer them for you.
Absolutely. I also have a couple of my Smart Self-Publishing Strategies books to give away. So pay attention, because you're going to need to know the answers to some questions to be the winner of the book. So many people, when they get to the point where they've written a book and they want to publish, think, oh, traditional publishing is the only way to do it, but it's really a difficult road. And it's not the same with the self-publishing. That's totally not true anymore. But they're both very viable paths. And to decide which path is correct for you, or is the right one for you, you should go through this list of things that matter and really prioritize them to decide, and that the way that you've chosen these things is going to decide which path makes the most sense for you. For example, traditionally in self-publishing, you earn a higher royalty rate than you would as a traditionally published author. You get control over the entire process. You get time to market. Your book gets out much, much faster. But if you're looking for the lowest possible investment or expenses, traditional publishing is better. Placement in bookstores, it's possible with self-publishing, but it's difficult. Availability in libraries, reviews in trade publications, or becoming a New York Times or USA Today bestseller used to be virtually impossible for self-publishers, but they no longer are. There are ways to do that. So we're going to talk about some of those ways. So I just said, but everything is on the slide. But historically, if you looked at all the factors that went into a publishing decision, it was heavily weighted in terms of traditional publishing versus self-publishing. And as I said, that's no longer the case. So what if you could have it all? What if you could have that higher royalty rate? What if you could have control over the entire publishing process? You know, I talk to a lot of traditionally published authors who say, well, I hate my cover, or, you know, they said I can't write anymore in that series, or all these other things. You are the one who makes that decision when you've chosen to go self-publishing. Speed to market is incredibly important. There are, I think I read the other day, 50,000 books, new books going up on Amazon every day. Now, a lot of those are stupid AI books, but you know, let's say half of them are stupid AI books and half of them are real books. That's a lot of new books every day. You need to get there really fast, and you need to be right on target with what the market is looking for. I'm going to talk about how that happens a lot. Membership in professional organizations, even a few years ago, when I started self-publishing, it was very hard to become a member of a professional organization. The bar for self-published authors was, well, like if this was the bar for a traditionally published author, the bar for the self-published author was like this. Still a little disparity, but it's much, much different. So now you can be easily actually be a full-fledged active member of Mystery Writers of America, of ITW, of all of the, you know, the genre-focused professional organizations. So don't worry about, you know, being considered a second-class citizen in your group. Depending on how you choose to publish your books and who you choose as your distributor, you can find that you'll have availability in libraries. If you choose to go Amazon only, you haven't got a prayer of being in a library or in, you know, a physical bookstore. But if you choose some of the other distributors, it's very easily done. Trade publications and mainstream media used to just totally ignore self-publishing. That's no longer the case. It's very easy to get, it's not very easy, but it's easy. It's as easy as it is for a traditionally published author to get a review in a trade publication or in the mainstream media. I know several people, at least 5 that I personally know, who have become USA Today or New York Times bestsellers with their self-published books. So it's possible. You don't have to say, well, you know, that was my dream, and I can't do that if I self-publish, because if that's your dream, then go make it happen. People often say, well, self-publishing sounds good, but I don't really want to do the marketing. And I understand that. I was a marketing professional, and still I get angry every day when I say, well, I have to go do this Facebook ad, or I have to do this or that. I'd rather be writing, and that is true. But you can also outsource your marketing. And there are a lot of ways and a lot of tools that you can use to minimize the amount of time that's necessary. So we're going to touch on those as well. Placement in bookstores is also possible if you are not Amazon only. And you may, though, have to go to your local bookseller and introduce yourself and explain about your book and ask them to put it in there. Oftentimes, they'll ask you to put some books in there on consignment. And after you've proven yourself with multiple sales, then they typically will continue and allow you to, man, this does not wish to work, allow you to have your book on the shelves. So let's say you've gone through that priority list and you say, well, yeah, this is kind of falling towards self-publishing is the way for me to go. I don't have the time or the patience or the energy to, chase down an agent, chase down a publisher or whatever. So what do I do? How do I get started? So there are some early steps you can take even before you've made that decision. One of the things that I did years and years before I made the decision was I opened platform accounts. I opened a KDP account on Amazon. I opened a Barnes and Noble publishing account, Ingram Spark. And I just did that because I'm a geek. I'm a software geek. So, what happens if I do this? So I spent a fair amount of time playing with them and seeing how they worked and seeing what it would mean if I were to do that, how much time it would take and that sort of thing. So you can do that. If you need a break from writing your novel, then, go mess around with KDP for a little while. They don't care. You can have that account for years and never put a book up. So just, do it. See what you think. Once you have decided that you want to go self-published, I highly recommend that you start slow. And one of the things I always say to people is, I screwed up, so you don't have to. So listen. So when I first published my first book, I put it on every platform in the universe, everywhere I could find. And then, of course, I found a typo. And I said, oh my God, I have to fix that typo. And so I went back and I had to change it everywhere. And then I was confused. Did I do it here? Did I do it there? And it was a lot of work, keeping everything in sync and keeping track of the sales for all those different places and everything. So it didn't take me long to say, I think I'll stick with Amazon to start. And when I get good at this, then I'll move to Apple, then I'll move to Ingram, then I'll move to, Draft to Digital or wherever, and spread my book across a much wider area. So yeah, start slow. Even if you've been playing with the platforms for a couple of years, it can take a while. So start slow. All of these platforms, and literally everybody in the universe, I think, has free training for self-publishing. How to find keywords, how to navigate through categories, how to determine the right cover, how what's involved in editing, just a zillion different topics. Take the free training. If you're on Facebook, you're going to hit every single day. The minute they find out you're a writer, every single day you'll get 20 or 30 posts with people saying, hey, I am a genius at, marketing your book or doing this or doing that or, teaching this. And it'll only cost you $37 or $1,000 or what, they're really literally across the board. Do not pay for that until you have exhausted all of the free training. You don't have to have a KDP account even to take the Amazon free training. And it talks to you about, how you're going to set up your book, how to handle pre-orders, how to find, the best keywords, what they will do for you when you've done this. Because believe me, they do a lot for me and I do very little for them. So they will help you. The platforms will help you. They want you to be successful. And so they will give you the free training to make sure that you are successful. So take advantage of it. The other thing is that although you're self-published, you're not alone. You're not going to do this all by yourself. You're going to need a team. You're going to need beta readers. You're going to need editors. You're going to need a cover designer. And here's another big mistake I made. I said, I can design a cover. So I went out and I bought an Adobe InDesign license and I spent 2 solid weeks, 100% of my time, trying to design a cover. That was an expensive 2 weeks and an expensive investment in InDesign. I never got a good cover. I couldn't make it fit. I couldn't, it looks so easy. It's not. Found myself a cover designer within, 2 days. I had a cover that looked almost exactly like the one that I was trying to design because I showed her what I was trying to do. But, she knew how to do it. I did not. The various platforms, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, have different specs for their print covers and for their ebook covers even. So Even though you may get your book cover to fit your Amazon book, it won't fit your Barnes and Noble book, and it can be quite painful. The other thing that I discovered after I had hired that cover designer is that your cover should be dictated by your genre or your category that you're in. And at the time that I was doing this, I really didn't understand categories. We're going to talk about them in a few minutes because they're huge. But she didn't understand categories either. So I had these very cool covers, but they didn't fit what worked in my category. So I ended up 2 years later going back, hiring a different cover designer and getting all new covers that do fit with the genre and that are very, very attractive, and they made a huge difference in the sales. So getting your cover correct is important. Getting your book edited properly is important. And you can't wait. This is another stupid thing I did. Don't wait to the last minute to identify your team. Identify them, let them know what you are planning on, what your timing looks like, that sort of thing, so that they can have it on their schedules. Because if they're good, they're going to be booked up in advance. So identify your team, get to know them, get to work with them, make sure they know what you're looking for, and make sure you're comfortable with them, because you're going to want to be on that journey with them for years. I'd also suggest that if you have some free time, like if you're, trying to write and you get to that point where you think, what would happen next? I have no idea. Take a break, play with some of the marketing tools. Many of them have free options like Canva, which is used for graphic arts, creating ads or images or whatever. They have a free option. Just see how it works. See what it's like to create a Facebook ad, or what it's like to, create an image for, a Zoom call or something like that. So play with the tools that you think you might like to use. Play with Vellum. What's it like to format a book? Play with, MailerLite. What's it like to have an email list? Don't spend hours on it, because the most important thing you can be doing is writing your book. But the day your book is done, you're going to want to know how to get started. And as I mentioned, the most important thing you can do is get familiar with Amazon categories, assuming that you're planning to publish on Amazon, which you probably should be, because they have 70% of the ebook market in the world. But Amazon categories are how they define who's a bestseller. And if you're in the right category, it's easy to be a bestseller. If you're not in the right category, you're clearly not going to be. And if you hit the top 100 in your category, Amazon throws marketing money at you. They will promote you without you having to do anything. They will promote you in their emails to customers that they know read in that category. They will, they give me free advertising money all the time, free credits to use for advertising. They have promoted my books multiple times for nothing, put them into, Amazon daily deals and things like that. But it's all because they're in the right category. And to be honest with you, I had no idea, because when you're thinking traditional publishing, you're thinking BISAC. You're thinking, because that's what, agents and publishers talk about, is BISAC. Well, BISAC has like a couple of hundred categories. Amazon has 13,000 categories, which is why I said it's easy to be a bestseller in your category if you're in the right place. So you need to truly understand how they work and what the readers of that category are expecting, what tropes they expect in your book, what they expect the covers to look like, even some of the words that they expect. And I'm going to tell you about some research that's available that will even tell you what colors you should have in your book by categories or on your book cover. So be familiar with your categories. It will make a huge difference in your success in selling on Amazon. So I'm going to talk about some of the early tasks you need to do, but remember, the most important thing you can do is write the book. So a lot of these can wait. But you should decide on your objectives. What is it that you want to get out of writing a book? Some people just want to have a book on a shelf. Some people want to hit the New York Times bestseller list. Some people just want to be able to say they did it. So deciding your objectives, that will also help you with that priority list that was on the first slide, deciding how much of that matters to you. I highly recommend that you set up a business, an LLC or whatever. That's optional, but I really highly recommend it. So many times I talk to people and they, even traditionally published authors, and they'll go, oh, I wish I could get my rights back. And I'll say, well, what does it say in your contract with your publisher about how you get your rights back? And they go, well, I never read the contract. What? They go, well, that's what I have an agent for. And I'm like, no, that's what you have a brain for. Read a contract before you sign it and make sure that you have this business. And another important reason why you want to have a business is when you set up your accounts on Amazon, they're going to ask you for a taxpayer identification number, which for people is a social security number, and which for businesses is a federal tax ID. I don't mind giving Amazon and Barnes and Noble and Ingram Spark and everyone else in the universe my federal ID number because I can just get another one. I do mind giving them my social security number. So to set up a business, it makes sense, and read your contracts. And every time you set up an account, it comes up with the terms of service, or every time you buy in Microsoft Word and it comes up with terms of service, those are contracts. You should read them, really. It matters. The other thing you should do, I think, is write a business plan. It can be less than one page. My business plan is about 3 paragraphs. And all it says is I'm going to publish this many books a year. I am going to achieve this sales goal by a certain period of time. And I am going to, begin a spin-off series in, such and such a year. 3 or 4 things that are my objectives. And I look at that once or twice a year and I say, are these objectives, are these tactics working for me? Are these objectives still what I really want to do? If I'm achieving my objectives, I'm happy. If I'm not, what can I do? What tactics should I change so that I do it? It's a roadmap for your career. It doesn't have to be, like if any of you have worked in business, and I'm sure, we've all been in some kind of business, and you've had a business plan and it was, like 300 PowerPoints and a 47-page document that went along with it. We don't need that. This is you. You own the business. Less than a page. What do I want to do? How am I going to get there? That's it. When you finished your book, write your back cover copy and the book description. Those are very important. You're going to need them, first of all, to commission your cover if you're choosing to do print as well as ebook. But you're going to need them for your book description, the book blurb on your Amazon or your Barnes and Noble listing, wherever you're choosing to list it. So make sure that you've got those written. Have people look at them. Have them check them. Look at other books in your categories. What do theirs look like? What words are they using? Should you be using those same words? The answer is yes. But find out what they are and make sure that your back cover copy, your book description is very similar. I mean, don't copy someone else's book description, but understand that, that the words that people are looking for when they buy a book in that category, understand what they're looking for and make sure that your book description has that available. When you're ready to get into print books, decide on your book sizes and the formats. All my books are in hardcover as well as paperback and ebook and audiobook. But I'll be honest, I sell very little, less than 1% of my sales are from hardbacks. But I have customers who will say, oh, I really want a hardback. And as long as I made the size of the paperback and the hardback the same, I didn't have to do a lot of reformatting or anything. Did have to pay for 2 covers, but still, it, made a customer happy and it wasn't a big deal. But my first time through, because I had, I make the mistake, so you don't have to. I had the paperback one size and the hardcover another size, and then I had to generate multiple versions of excuse me, of the manuscript to post on all these places. And it was very, very complicated. And, self-publishing has enough to do and enough tasks and enough things to worry about. Don't worry about that. Don't make it harder on yourself. Make your book sizes. If you're going to do print, paperback and hard copy, make them the same size and just worry about getting the cover. Once you've got all that done, then you can commission your cover. It's then time to decide on how you're going to distribute. Are you going to be Amazon only? Are you going to distribute everywhere? Are you going to distribute your ebook Kindle Unlimited, or are you going to go wide with it? Lots of different choices you can make in your distribution strategy. I'm going to talk a little bit about how some of those will affect your sales. Then you're going to want to get your ISBNs. When you put your books up in Amazon or Barnes & Noble or Ingram Spark, they're all going to say, oh, we'll give you an ISBN for free. And an ISBN is like $125 or less, depending on how many you buy at one time. And so a lot of people go, oh, that's great. It is not great, because then they are the publisher of record. And if you want to take that book and put it somewhere else, you need another ISBN, which means you're either going to have two free ISBNs, or you're going to have to buy the ISBN eventually anyway. And it can mess up your sales, not your sales that you're coming to, but your sales record, because it will show as two totally different books. So that's another good reason also to have a business. My ISBNs are all purchased under my publishing company name, Penster Press. And you want to have that company set up before you need to buy the ISBNs. Because Amazon will check and make sure that you own that ISBN. So if you put it under, Sharon Ward, and then I have a publisher's name on my book, they'll go, oh, no, it doesn't work. So that business decision is important to be done up front. And the ISBNs, I highly recommend you buy them yourselves. We've talked a little bit about categories and keywords. In everywhere you publish your book, they will have some categories. Most of them will just be the bisect categories, but as I said, Amazon has over 13,000. They also give you 7 fields per book for keywords, and you're going to want to make sure that you have the right keywords, because if you have keywords in there that people search for, that will bring them directly to your book in those all-important people also bots, or if you're advertising on Amazon, the top of the page and that sort of thing. So make sure you've got the right keywords. And I'm going to talk about some tools that will help you select the right categories and keywords in a minute. When you set up your accounts in KDP and the others, make sure you set up your author and series pages at the same time. And don't forget to set up your author pages on Goodreads and BookBub as well. They're free. They get you a little bit of visibility. I admit that I am very lax in keeping up with my Goodreads and BookBub pages, but they're there. And I think it's important, because there are people, I'm not one of them, but there are people who, go to Goodreads to find out what they should be reading, or who go to BookBub to look for deals, and it's important that you're there. It's also important that you start planning for an email newsletter and list, because one of the business drawbacks of self-publishing, if you're going through companies like Amazon or Ingram Spark or whatever, is they own the customer. They own the customer record, and you don't. So if by some horrible misfortune Amazon decides to shut down your account one day, you're kind of in deep water. And so if you don't have an email list, you have no way to contact your customers. So you should have a website, and it should have a way on it. Contact me, sign up for my email list. I think I've sent out one in 3 years, but I've got thousands of people on my email list just waiting for me to send out another list. But if something should happen, and if I needed to contact those people, and in fact, when I opened my own bookstore, which I've done, and that's a lot of work, don't do that. but there's, I could let them all know, hey, you can buy these books. They're cheaper, they're faster, they're just as beautiful, buying directly from me. When you publish your first book, and perhaps every book after that, you should also write a press release. It's very easy to write a press release. There are formats on the internet, in Word, everywhere, on what a press release should look like. And then send it out. Anyone can send it out. Now, I don't send mine out through press release distribution programs, which there are several of. I actually go to people that I want to know about my book, like the book reviewer in local newspapers, my town newspaper, and the librarians at the local libraries or whatever, and I send the press releases to them directly to their specific email. And I write the press release in a way that if they chose to, and many of them choose to, they could just cut and paste and drop it into their column for the next week. And so there it is. It's right there. So it takes me, an hour to write the press release, and I get a lot from it. My first speaking engagement came because I sent a press release to a local librarian who immediately called me up and said, would you come and do a presentation for us? So press release, very important. You can also outsource a lot of activities, and you should outsource a lot of activities. One of the most important that you should outsource is your editing. I would recommend developmental editing, at least for your first couple of books, until you get kind of the hang of how it's done. Copy editing and proofreading, those are typically 3 different people. Although there are some editors who will say they do them all, but some are very good at one thing and some are very good at another thing. Very few are good at all of them. So make sure you know what you're doing and or who you're hiring. And I would also recommend that you do a lot of your own editing before you send it out to the editor, because they will quote the rate to you based on how much work they think it's going to be. So if you send them a book which has gone through multiple rounds of copy editing and proofreading, and just using simple tools that are in Word or Grammarly or whatever, your book is going to look a lot better, and they will quote you a lower price than they would if you send it out and it's got lots of run-on sentences and mispunctuation and things like that. So just a hint. Your cover design, we talked about that again. That is probably the most important thing for a new book or a new author. If your cover is not a grabber, if it doesn't look like the books that these people, your potential readers, and you should know exactly who your potential reader is. If it doesn't look like the books they typically buy, they're not going to buy it. Doesn't matter how good your story is. Doesn't matter how good your blurb is. It has to look like the other books. Not exactly, but a lot. And you should do a lot of market research too. And everybody goes, oh no. Market research will help you to understand as I said, what your cover should look like, the colors that you should be using, the words you should be using, the tropes your readers expect, what categories you fall in, and in those categories, what are the best-selling books, what keywords do they use to get to the top of the list. So there are several tools, and here's where it will cost money to do market research. It'll cost money or time, and those are really the only 2 things you have to deal with, is money or time. I don't have a lot of time, so I tend to choose money, but market research is very important. So get familiar with the tools that you'll need. Vellum is the tool I use for book design. You can also use Adobe's InDesign if you're like either a masochist or a true graphic designer. Vellum is really easy to use. They have a free version. You don't have to pay for it until you go to publish something. So you can, mess around, format your book, try different styles, all kinds of things until you're ready to publish. That's another one of those tools that I would play with during those moments when The back of my mind is trying to figure out what happens next, and the front of my mind needs something to keep it occupied. Try Vellum. Try Canva. They have a free version, and it's used for graphics and for ads and for social media posts and for tchotchkes if you want to do bookmarks or postcards or napkins or whatever you want to do with your logo or your series name or anything like that on there. Canva is a good place to do it. There are others. BookBrush is also one that's very good, especially for authors. They have a lot of predefined templates for, hardcover paperback books that you can turn and twist and file up and do all kinds of things with. So I actually have both, but I prefer Canva. Word, you're obviously using that for writing. A lot of people go, well, I use Google Docs. Well, Google Docs doesn't have the editing capabilities or the formatting capabilities that Word does. So remember we talked about when you hire an editor, they're going to look at the sample that you send them and say, how much work is this going to be? It's going to be less work if you're using Word's editing tools. They do everything from, finding where you accidentally, because you happen to be a person of a certain age, put 2 dots between the period, start of the next sentence. They'll find all of those that you missed. They'll, offer all kinds of suggestions, and you can pick and choose what parts of the spelling and grammar checking and editing you want to use. And I cannot stress enough that Word is you should be familiar with Word. Not being familiar with Word is like hiring a carpenter who doesn't know how to use a saw. It's just absolutely the right tool to use. Excel is a tool that I use that is not actually necessary. I use it for motivation. I created a spreadsheet, which I'll be happy to share with any of you. It's kind of goofy, but it allows me to say, this is how long my book should be. And that's another thing that you should be doing some market research on in my genre. How long are the books exactly? And so if my book is going to be this long and I want to have it out on this date, how many words per day do I have to use? Right? How many have I written? It's got pie charts. It's got line charts. It's got all kinds of cool things. And when I'm going, oh, man, it feels like a writing, I look at my little Excel spreadsheet and I look at my little pie chart and I'm very happy and I go back to work. So it's a motivator. That's all I use it for. Publisher Rocket is another tool. It costs, I think, $95 or $99 for a lifetime license. And it's an absolutely fabulous tool because it will help you discover the categories and keywords that your book belongs in. You can choose a book that you think is like your book, and it will come back and it will tell you what categories it's a bestseller in, what the keywords are that it uses. Or you can also put in a keyword that you think works for your book, and it'll come back and tell you what books are using it. So it's a terrific investment. You can do all that manually. You can sit there and you can poke around in Amazon and scroll through the categories list and look at the bestseller list by category and type in various keywords and see what it comes up with as suggestions. You can do all that. It takes a lot of time. It's much faster using Publisher Rocket, and in my opinion, it's well worth. I do not get paid for this. It is well worth the $99 that it will cost you. K-Lytics is another market research tool that I use. It forecasts market trends. This is a little more expensive. This is about $500 a year. But what it does is it actually looks by category and genre at the entire marketplace and shows you which categories are on a rising tide, which categories are falling down, what the cover should look like. And this is where I said it'll actually show you what colors you need, what words you use. They have word clouds that will show you the words that are most commonly used in the titles and the blurbs, the back cover copy, all that stuff in each category. So it's a hugely valuable piece of information. It's more valuable if you write cross genre because it will help you with those multiple genres, but it's very valuable no matter what. Facebook ads is or has traditionally been the fastest way to generate sales for self-published authors. Facebook has been helping authors lately by putting AI in everything, and nobody can sell anything anymore. It's just been horrible trying to get your Facebook ads to perform the way they used to. But when they work, the easiest way I found was to, in Canva, create an image of whatever it is I wanted, which is typically my book cover on a background with some words. And I use it to post it to my Facebook account, and then I boost that post, which you can do for like $1 a day. At this point, I'm spending a lot more than $1 a day, but you can start with $1 a day. So it's not hugely expensive, and it will earn you some sales. Amazon ads are also terrific. If you spend money on Amazon ads, Amazon will turn around and spend money on you. Not nearly as much, but they will give you money in the form of advertising credits. It's a little more complicated, but they have tremendously helpful free education on the KDP community pages, which I believe are open to anyone. So you can get in there and poke around and learn how to run the ads, how to find your keywords, what's the difference between the different types of matching that you can do for keywords and things like that. So and if you are Amazon specific, you're not going wide, then Amazon ads is an important place for you to be.
Sharon, can I ask you a quick question?
Of course.
Is it true that a traditionally published author cannot buy their own Amazon ads?
Used to be true. It's
Okay.
no longer true. They did open it up to traditionally published authors. The problem is that a traditionally published author, most of them don't earn enough on the sale of a book to be able to afford
Right.
to buy an Amazon ad. So, for example, if I am selling an ebook for $9.99, I'll earn a little over $7 for that. So I can take 6 if I want to. I don't, but I could. Put it all into advertising and still earn as much as most traditionally published authors earn from the sale of a book. And I would be selling a lot more because I would get much more visibility. So it used to be a problem for traditionally published authors. Amazon made a change, but it's still a problem for traditionally published authors, and that's because of the way their contracts are structured with their publisher, not with Amazon. Okay. Did that do it for you, Kate?
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So here's the part that everybody's really interested in, the finance part, as Spencer Quinn always says in his Chet and Bernie books. We're very successful, except for the finance part. Financing or the economics of self-publishing is slow. It can take a while for your sales to build up and for the revenue to come in. For example, when I started, I spent 100% of the revenue on ads and awareness for the first several months. The first month, I only earned $50. I put it right back into advertising. The next month, I earned more. I put it right back into advertising. I spent a lot of time and money developing awareness. Now, why would I do that? Because that sounds like a stupid thing to do. But the reason it's not a stupid thing to do is that there are 13 million books on Amazon today. 13 million. And as I said, there's something like, 50,000 or 500,000, some ludicrous number of new books showing up on Amazon every day. So the most important thing you can do to ensure your success as a self-published author is to create awareness for your book. And the best way to create awareness, unless you're famous, is through advertising or other forms of promotion. And I don't recommend you go to the, local library and say, buy my book, because it's hard to sell a book one at a time. It's a lot easier to sell a book in a bunch. So developing that awareness was actually the best thing I did. And it truthfully led to, I'm not hugely successful, but I'm, comfortably successful. So I think that was a big part of it. And after you spend those first few months putting everything you earn back into creating more awareness, you will find that your revenue increases every month. And every time you release a new book, you will get an exponential jump for not only the new book, but all the books that came before, especially if they're in a series. So having a lot of books is very important for a self-published author. If you're thinking traditional publishing and you're saying, well, I only have to do one book a year, don't think that way. With self-publishing, at least 2 and up to 4 a year is what your readers will be expecting. So you're going to have to write at a rapid rate, but it will pay off. It will pay off in earnings. My current run rate is about $40,000 a year. And that was actually when I had 8 books out. So, the 10th one is coming out soon. It takes a jump every time. I still spend a fair amount of that on creating awareness, but now it's down to only 25% of approximately, give or take, depending on what's going on in a particular month. So, it's a lot. Now, the other thing about those 13 million books on Amazon, more than 1 million of them have no sales rank at all. Having no sales rank means nobody has ever bought a copy of that book. Not your mother, not your sister, not somebody who accidentally bought it. Nobody has ever bought that book. You do not want your book to get lost in that 13 million and join that 1 million with no sales rank. So that's why it's important to ensure that you get the awareness. Writing a series helps with sales. People like my Fleming books, they are constantly saying, when's the next one? When's the next one? That's really helpful because you get a big hit of sales on the first day, and that raises your profile in your category on Amazon, which means Amazon is going to throw more love your way in terms of, showing your book to people in their also bots or at the top of the page and things like that. So it's much, much easier to sell the next book in a series than it is to sell the next standalone, unless you're really famous, great writer. But even a lot of great writers, or highly successful writers, Lee Child, Louise Penny, they're writing in series. Michael Conley writing in multiple series, but series is very helpful for sales because you have a built-in audience. This is a little distribution insight, and although these are lovely graphs, I confess I did not create them myself. I copied them off the bottom of my KDP reports page. So, like I said, Amazon will do a lot to help you. The graph on the left, I'm writing left challenge. The graph on the left shows breakdown by sources for my sales. So 43% is coming from subscriptions, which is defined as Kindle Unlimited and/or Audible, if you have audiobooks. And this was just for January month to date, the day I grabbed it from the screen. 33% is coming from ebooks, 24% is paperback, and although it says 0 for hardcover, there is a tiny, tiny, tiny little dark blue line up there where somebody accidentally bought a hardcover. But this was an interesting month to me because when I first started, as I said, my books are all in Kindle Unlimited. I took them all out of Kindle Unlimited about a year ago when I opened my own online store. And then I just put them back at the beginning of January. I put them back and, I took them out because they weren't doing a lot on Kindle Unlimited. And I made a lot more sales by selling them on my own store. But then I put them back, and Zoom sales jumped right up. So I think that that was a strategy that I found quite interesting. But anyway, 43%. And the top marketplaces, Amazon also did this graph for me, the one on the right. I do sell worldwide, which, is astonishing to me. I sell very well in locations where scuba diving is a popular event. So I often see a lot of sales in Australia and Japan. But these are the kinds of things you can get. This is just on your KDP dashboard every day when you go in there. So kind of information that they help you out by providing. Some helpful hints, which I've probably already given away, but series, much easier to sell than standalones in most genres. Incredibly hard to sell your first book unless you're already famous. I would recommend, I did not do this, but I would recommend, don't spend a lot of money on ads until at least you have at least 2 books for sale. And that doesn't mean that you can't say, hey, I'll spend $1 a day on Facebook and see what happens, or I'll spend, $5 on Amazon a day or something, whatever your budget can stand. But don't go in and go, yeah, I think I'll do like, $1,000 this month. Don't do that. Let it build. Give yourself time to learn. Give yourself time to see what works. Once you've got 2 books for sale, when you can get someone to buy the first book, it's easier to get them to buy the second book, even easier to get them to buy the third book. So your sales will increase incrementally. So wait until you've got the books that will bring you that sell-through revenue. It's also easier to hit a high sales rate when it's first published than it is to climb back up. So a lot of people will go, well, it's going to be 3 months before I have book 2, so I'm going to put book 1 out, and then, book 2 is only going to be 3 months away. 3 months is a lifetime in self-publishing. And you put your first book out and it doesn't sell that well. It doesn't tank, but it doesn't sell that well because you're new, you're unknown. You don't have anything backing it up. So maybe it came out high, but it fell quickly low. You put out book 2, book 2 doesn't get the love that book 1 got because it is second to book 1, which didn't get a lot of sales, and Amazon's algorithm, it's not personal, it's just the way the algorithm works, doesn't come back. And even if you get more sales because you now have book 2, it's much, much higher for your book 1 sales rank to get back up where it was, getting you into the top 100 in your category, which is where you want to be. So again, I didn't do this, learn from my mistakes. It is better in a lot of ways to put out 2 books at the same time, book 1 and book 2 in my series, book 1, 2, and 3 in my series. First of all, it gives people a feeling of comfort that you can write, and you can write more than 1 book, and that your series is continuing. And second, it gives you that hit, and your books, all of them will rank much higher. And if you do this, you are helping Amazon to help you, because you are doing what their algorithm wants you to do. And when the algorithm sees you doing what it wants you to do, it turns around and gives you a little boost. So let it. There are a lot of strategic decisions that you need to make. For example, when you're deciding on ebooks, you have the choice of going wide or going Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited, the contract with Kindle Unlimited prevents you from selling the ebook only. Your print books you can sell anywhere, but the ebook only has to be Amazon specific. You can't even sell it off your own website. So do you want to go wide or do you want to stay Kindle Unlimited? Amazon has 70% of the market share for ebooks. And you're just learning this whole self-publishing thing. It's probably a good plan to go Kindle Unlimited for a while. You can always, every 90 days, you can revisit that decision if you want to. But I would start by going wide and seeing how it goes. The next most important ebook platform is Apple, and they have 10 to 28% of the market share. So, not even close to really what Amazon is offering. When I started selling, Kindle Unlimited was about 75% of my sales. because people are perfectly willing to take a book that they're getting for nothing. You're getting paid, but they're getting it for nothing. Read it and decide if they like it. The good news about that is that if they like it and they go on to book two, even better. But so 75%, it started out, went down to below 20%, which is when I pulled everything out of Kindle Unlimited, just put it back at the beginning of January, and it just hit that 43% that you saw a minute ago. Your print book strategy, almost always print on demand. They're rarely stocked in bookstores, but they're available almost anywhere, depending on your distributor, within a day or two of orders. And if you really care about print books being in a bookstore, then you're going to want probably to go with Ingram Spark. They're very good for libraries, for big box stores, and for independent bookstores. But again, your readers are going to have to know enough to go and ask for them at the bookstore and have them ordered. And that means you're going to need awareness. BarnesandNoble.com has their KDP equivalent called PressBarnesandNoble.com. Lulu is another way to send out print books. Draft to Digital has they were for many years ebook specific. They now do print books as well, but paperback only. Book Vault is a printer. They will do either paperbacks or hard copies. They'll ship directly to your customers if you want to open your own bookstore, or they'll ship them to you and you can sell them at libraries or bookstores or fairs or wherever you want to go. If you decide that you want to approach your local bookstore, approach them as though you were a sales rep from a publisher. Go in with a tip sheet or a title fact sheet, like they're used to getting when someone is trying to get them to carry a new title. There are formats for tip sheets and title fact sheets on the internet if you want to take a look at them. But they will be expecting you to bring this in and leave it behind, and it tells them everything they need to know about the book, the number of pages, what the cover looks like, a little blurb about it, the ISBN, where to order it, all kinds of interesting stuff. They will expect one of those. Bring it. If you decide you want to go into audiobooks, and audiobooks can be very expensive, I recommend waiting until you've got a fairly good following in your print and ebooks. My audiobooks cost me between $2,500 and $3,000 for each book. When you decide to go audiobook, you have a choice again, like with Kindle Unlimited, go Audible exclusive. Audible is owned by Amazon, or go wide. If you go Audible exclusive, you get 40% royalty on every sale. If you go wide, you get a 25% royalty on every sale. If you're going to go wide, the two best choices for distributors are Spotify through their Find a Way Voices division, or Authors Republic. And the reason those are the two best is because they are the only two that work with Chirp, which is the second most important audiobook reseller or seller. Setting up your audiobook can be done on a cost share basis with certain narrators. Usually the narrators are just starting out, or you can self-fund it. I've self-funded all of my own. It's a hit, but it's been great, actually. One of the things you need to do is choose your narrator, which they're called producers actually in the industry. Choose them wisely. When I first approached the audiobook process, I hired a narrator through Find a Way Voices, who turned out had no experience whatsoever. She did a lovely reading for me on the sample stuff. You send in a couple of paragraphs for them to read as a sample. Did a lovely, totally nailed it. Totally screwed up the delivery. She was months late. She mispronounced words. The volume was up and down and up and down. The files were completely unusable. I had to threaten Find a Way Voices to get out of that contract because I hired her through them, fortunately. And that was a very bad learning experience. So I was very wary of hiring another narrator. And I lucked out totally finding my existing narrator, who I found on the Alliance of Independent Authors website under one of their vetted professionals kind of thing. And she's wonderful. She does a great job, and she's just a delight to work with. So again, I screw up, so you don't have to. Watch who you hire for your narrator. And now I'm ready to take questions, but I'm going to leave you with all these beautiful pictures and links while we ask questions. So let's go. Anybody?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Sharon. That's a lot of information for us to take in, but again, very comprehensive and really just incredible. Your knowledge in this area. Someone on the chat actually had a question, which is any tips on keeping track of inventory for paperbacks, even if POD that an author might purchase for in-house event signings?
Yes. I actually have my website now on a place called Shopify, which allows you to open a store. You don't have to open the store, but they do have inventory tracking. So you can create your purchase orders there. You can know what you have on hand. You can see what your sales have been by item, what your profits have been by item. It's incredibly useful. So Shopify.
I have a question.
Sure.
Hi. Just your covers are beautiful. I can see how the consistency says this is a Sharon book. This is a Sharon book.
Yep.
I can see it. My question is, what the hell was my question? What are the three main categories on Amazon for these books?
These books?
Yes.
This specialty travel.
Really?
Water sport, yes, because they take place in
yeah.
Cayman Islands, and people travel there to scuba dive.
Okay.
Water sports, scuba,
Mm-hmm.
and mystery, thriller, and suspense sea adventure.
Wow. So mystery, thriller, suspense, sea adventure is actually one of the 13,000 categories.
Mm-hmm. Not easy to find.
No
Yeah,
wonder. See, I write books between the cracks. And an agent who likes this doesn't like, it's impossible. This
publishers
makes
don't
sense.
care. Publishers don't care about the
Oh,
categories.
good
They
luck
care
trying
about
to
buy
find
set.
it. Yeah, I get it. Okay, thank you.
And they won't, yeah, and by the way, you cannot change your categories. Only your publisher can if you're traditionally published.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can go in and change my categories every day if I want to,
Yeah.
but I don't, but I could.
Well, the trick is an agent online is saying, I'm looking for XXX. And you say, well, this novel fits those parameters. And you submit the query and it's all professionally and blah, blah. And they write back and say, no, this is not for me.
Yeah. Well,
That's why I'm here. I'm curious. I have a lot of books. I'm curious.
well, I'm the same way, and I am turning 75 this year, and I had been playing that agent game for years.
Yeah.
And I just said, you know what? I don't have time for this anymore.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
So, happy to help you out.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
These are great. Sharon, can we stop the share so we can see you better?
Sure.
Oh,
There
good.
we are.
Appreciate it.
Very interesting indeed, and
Yeah.
quite, as Kay pointed out, thorough. It tells me this is serious business. If you're going to do this, explore it, learn it,
Mm-hmm.
spend some time, understanding the software and such. A couple of quick questions for you. Did you have experience with KPD, obviously, but also Ingram Spark? Like, did you try each of them and
I
then
did.
settled on? Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Actually, the first day that I put up In Deep, which was my first book, I put it up everywhere in the universe, which is a very bad mistake. I put it up on KDP, I put it up on Ingram Spark, and I put it up on Barnes and Noble, and I did that for ebook, paperback, and hardcover. So it was like everywhere.
Each of those is complex enough, so hats off to you to be able to do all of that.
I took it all back. I took it
Yeah,
all back because I said, this is too hard. I'm just learning. I give up, I'm just going to
I'm
stick
with
with
you.
KDP until I'm good at it.
Would you say it's worthwhile to do ebook and paperback, or is really ebook the way to start? What would you recommend for someone who's just starting?
I would say ebooks are easy and ebooks are growing, but there are a lot of people. I don't know if you remember the graph that I showed you, but about 30% of my revenue is coming from paperbacks.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would say you want to at least have a paperback. When I had my original covers, I had everything through paperback, and by book 4, I said, gee, nobody's buying these. I'm not going to do any more hardcovers. And so I stopped hardcovers. Then when I hired the new cover designer and I got those fabulous covers, I said, you know what? While we're at it, let's do the hardcover and let's make sure everything's the same size so I don't have to mess around with multiple generations of different PDFs and all that. And so then it's no big deal. It doesn't cost me anything to put them up there. I just put them up there. I sell a couple a month. I sell a lot more through my store than I do on Amazon. So people
Gotcha.
like to get hard copies from me, and I sign them for them.
Oh,
They
nice.
buy them from my store. So,
Do you make more if we buy it from your store? I just went on and bought one from Amazon, so
oh yeah, I do, but I don't care. I don't care. I'm happy that somebody buys it, no matter where you buy it. Um, you know, like I love it if people buy ebooks from my store because I get it all. It's all me.
okay.
There's no commission to anyone. But it's not that big of a difference. It's and in fact for paperback and hard copies, I think it's like $1, so it's not a big deal.
Gotcha. That's great to know. There's so much to learn here, and
Yeah.
it it sounds like you mentioned. Do you do BookBub ads as well? I know Goodreads there's ads. There's of course Facebook, Amazon, but BookBub, I'm not so sure.
BookBub,
Yeah.
yeah, they do ads. I have not been successful with BookBub ads, and they're expensive. They're the most expensive ads that I've ever placed, and I get nothing. BookBub is not like very fond of me. But it's because I don't understand their algorithms the way I understand the others. But the interesting thing is BookBub owns Chirp. And I recently took my audiobooks and put them in Authors Republic, and they went to Chirp, and I said, I'm just going to put myself in for a Chirp promotion. And boom, they came back and they said, yep, here we go. And I was like, wow, because BookBub is like, who do you think you are even asking, but Chirp just went zoom right for it. So
Hey, this is one more I haven't heard of Chirp. Okay, very
Chirp is for
interesting.
audiobooks.
Audiobooks, got it. As you see, I wrote a lot of questions. Let me give a chance to other people. This is so good. Uh, Someone's moving the screen around, but I don't know who it is. Folks, yeah, go ahead, Chell. I think I saw.
Hi. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, because you're a sole proprietor of sorts, do you do anything to protect yourself legally?
I'm sorry, because of what?
Do you protect yourself somehow legally in case anybody should sue you? I mean, is it just enough to put a disclaimer in the book? Because I don't know how that would hold up.
Are you talking about because of the diving or because of, I'm sorry,
No,
in
just
what
because
circumstance?
we live in a litigious society, and
Oh,
at
yeah.
least the publisher, if you're going to get sued, they're going to hopefully pick up your lawyer fees.
Well, that's the beauty of having a corporation.
But you're still a single proprietor, though. So you're not really a
I'm an
corporation,
LLC. I'm an LLC.
but you're still one person, because I've asked lawyers
Absolutely.
about that. It doesn't matter.
It does.
I don't know.
So an LLC
You're
behaves
still a
differently.
party of one, though, so I'd be really careful about that.
Well, first of all, I don't do much that could get me sued.
Yeah.
It's
And
fiction.
in fact, every one of my books says, don't do what Finn does because she's an idiot. Do not dive the way she dives. But other than that, I mean, there's not too much they can do. And all my books are copyrighted before they're published. And truthfully, I think you might want to talk about, there's a difference between a subchapter S and an LLC that I think you might want to discuss with your lawyer. Because an LLC does protect your personal assets.
Do Yeah, I know it keeps it separate from your personal assets, but
Well, my LLC has no assets, so
okay.
other than my ISBN numbers.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Bill, did you have a question? Did I see your hand up, Bill? No? Sorry. Jeffrey, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I have a question. Sharon, do you find, or do you make use of some of the newer channels such as Substack or Reddit to get the word out about your books?
I do not. And I don't because it's just too much.
Mm,
There are a million channels. Like I said, there's nobody here but me. So I'd rather write than worry about learning Reddit. You know, it took me a long time to learn how to do a Facebook ad and an Amazon ad. I do some, I love your cat, Kate. I do some promotions with promotional sites that will just take on that for you and just send out like 9 zillion emails or
right,
Facebook
right.
shares or whatever. I just don't have time. And they're not that successful. You know, I tried desperately to get my granddaughter to do a TikTok movie for me for book talk, but she wouldn't. But that was and I was only going to do TikTok because I wasn't going to do anything other than have her do it. I just don't have time.
So you haven't looked at, do you do anything on Instagram or, and
My Instagram and my Facebook are the same, so that everything
okay,
goes everywhere.
yeah, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's a, I'm sorry. There's a site called Threads, THREADS, and it's like Twitter, but it's mostly authors, journalists, editors, people who work at publishing companies. So I have a couple of traditionally published books. So every day around 11, I post the cover of the book I'm trying to, which has about 25 words of promo, and that's it. And people are reposting my thing, which is like free publicity.
Exactly.
And Threads is wonderful for sharing information about writing. If nothing else, there are subgroups, and it's tremendous, really.
That's great.
Yeah.
I do have a Threads account, but I'm not real active on it.
I just go every day and, boom, I make comments. Some people repost, which is a blessing.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's too much to do in too little time, right?
Exactly. That's the important thing is, set your priorities and move forward. And that's the other reason that I said you should have a business plan. And the business plan should just have your objectives and your tactics for achieving those objectives. And my tactics are Facebook and Amazon.
Right.
Got it. If we have other questions, can we text you on your website? Can we message you somehow?
Yes, you can hit me up at Sharon@SharonWard.com. You can take a look at my website, which was designed by my cover designer. I've messed with it since then, so it's not quite as gorgeous as it was when he did it, but it is lovely. And I also have a new website through BookBub, actually is allowing authors to create free websites or semi-free. They're going to be $10 a month after the first 6 months, but that's SharonWardAuthor.com. Take a look at that. I'd love to know which one you like better.
Cool. Very nice. Go ahead.
I put both of those in the chat for everyone, your email and your two websites, if anyone would like to jot it down.
Thank you.
Excellent. If there are no other questions, we have run a little bit over.
Sorry, I always talk too much.
Yeah, we're going to thank you so much, Sharon. Kate, you got, this is like full marks. I don't know where you found Sharon, but thank you. And with a 2-day turnaround. So, wow. Thank you, Sharon. That was well done.
So I have 3 books of a book I wrote called Smart Self-Publishing Strategies that first 3 people to say, I want it, you can have it. Good. Jeannie? Anyone else? I can't see anyone else.
Okay, I'll buy it.
Great.
Don't worry. Give it to Pamela. No worries. George also. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can you coordinate getting their snail mail addresses and I will mail them out?
Sure. So everyone who I think I got you guys, Jeannie,
Pamela and
Kate, did you track who?
Yeah, it was Jeannie and George and Pamela. Is that
Jordan
correct?
Pamela. Yeah, that'd be great. Just send me a note at president@mwany dot, I think we're org.org, mwany.org. That way I will get your correct email address. I can forward it on to Sharon and the rest of us. You can go buy it, it's an ebook.
well, it is an ebook, but I took it off Amazon because, like I said, everything changes so fast.
Yes.
But you know what? If you send me your email, I will send you the ebook. It's fine.
Fantastic.
Better.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Kate. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Sharon. Thank you.
Thanks
This
very much.
was great.
Great.
Thank
Here.
Great
Have a
presentation.
good night, everybody.
Bye,
Take care all.
everybody.
See
Thank
you
you.
next month, next CrimeCraft next month.
Great.
you.
Take care.
Bye.
Sharon, thank